The woman of today can study almost anything, vote, own property, lead a company, earn her own income, build a business from nothing, enter almost any profession, run for office, raise children while running her career at the same damn time, and speak publicly about things that used to be unspeakable. That's an enormous shift, genuinely worth sitting in awe for a second. But I won't pretend that every woman has all of that equally, because that would be dishonest. There's a difference between legal freedom, social freedom, practical freedom. A woman can be legally allowed to do something and still face real barriers, economic pressure, family expectation, plain unsafety standing between her and doing it. Legal permission is the floor, not the whole building. Let's put some real numbers to this, because I don't want this to be just a feeling. I want it to sound like the fact it is. As of 2025, women hold around 44% of the seats in South Africa's National Assembly, one of the strongest figures in the entire continent. Globally, the picture is less impressive. Women hold roughly 27% of parliamentary seats worldwide, meaning most governments on earth are still overwhelmingly male rooms making decisions for everyone. Globally, women still earn about 20% less than men for work of equal value. Women worldwide do about 2.5 times more unpaid care work than men. The cooking, the cleaning, the childcare, the fetching water in places where it isn't piped in. Work that rarely shows up on a line on a payslip, or almost never shows up on a CV. Here at home, the picture is genuinely brutal, because a woman is murdered in South Africa roughly every 3 hours. And femicide runs at close to 5 times the global average. So yes, we can clap for how far we've come, but we can also look at how much is still completely unfinished. Let's light this up for a second. Imagine trying to explain to a woman from 1800 that in the future, people will voluntarily post their qualifications, their job history, and a photo of themselves online for strangers to judge for free. And we'll call it networking. She'll probably stare at you and say, "Congratulations, you've invented a whole new kind of suffering." I was trying to do an old person voice, but I changed my mind in the middle of that because I don't know how to. You've invented a whole new kind of suffering, and you're doing it on purpose. Or imagine telling her that a woman today can decide out loud that she simply doesn't want children and face nothing worse than an awkward conversation at a family braai. In her time, that sentence alone could end a woman socially. Progress is sometimes very serious, and sometimes it's genuinely, quietly, a little bit funny. Now, an important pause, because I know exactly where some of this conversation online has gone. Women empowerment does not require men's humiliation, okay? Equality was never meant to mean women win, therefore men must lose. Human potential doesn't work that way. It means the potential that has always been inside of women stops being artificially restricted. A healthy version of this allows women to become powerful without becoming cruel about it, and men to be strong without needing to control anyone to feel secure. It allows fathers to raise ambitious daughters without flinching, and it allows husbands to celebrate a wife who out-earns them instead of quietly resenting them. A man's dignity does not need to shrink because the woman beside him becomes more capable. If anything, a society gets richer, materially and otherwise, when more of the people inside it are allowed to contribute everything they have. Which brings me to a part of this conversation that matters the most. I think. What do we do with the freedom that previous generations fought this hard to build? Because freedom creates responsibility, whether we asked for that responsibility or not. If women now have more access to education, to money, to leadership, to public platforms than at almost any other part in history, then empowerment can't just stop at we got in the room. It has to become, what do we build once we're standing in it? Mentors, employers who hire other women properly, innovators, mothers raising genuinely confident children, community leaders, scientists, entrepreneurs, policymakers. The opportunity isn't merely to have gained freedom, it is to decide deliberately what kind of world that freedom is going to build next. So let's look forward for a moment. If the woman of the past fought just to enter the room, and the woman of today is finally sitting at the table inside it, what does the woman of tomorrow do? As a woman, when you imagine the woman of the future, what do you hope she doesn't have to fight for anymore?
Equal pay, but it's not the one that I'd actually pick anymore, because that feels like an obvious answer. If we're doing the same work, we should earn the same. I think what I hope is that she doesn't have to apologize for ambition, that she can want something big out loud and nobody flinches or calls her difficult for it. And maybe the bigger one. Honestly, I hope motherhood and ambition stop being treated like they're in competition with each other. Like you have to pick a lane. I hope she gets to build both at once without either one being treated as the thing she's neglecting.
She's a woman with full agency over her own potential. In whichever direction she chooses to point it, she may lead companies without that leadership being treated as some kind of interesting exception. She may dominate fields like artificial intelligence, clock it, medicine, engineering, clock it, science, etc. She may become one of the major allocators of capital on the planet instead of merely someone asking for capital or asking capital for permission. She may build entirely new institutions instead of just finding a seat inside the old ones. Technology may finally lift some of that unpaid domestic weight off her shoulders instead of adding to it. And maybe eventually we reach a point where female excellence simply stops being treated as an exception worth commenting on, where a woman running a company isn't a woman CEO, she's just the CEO. Oh, that's a world, right?
Yep.
Where a woman doing groundbreaking science isn't a female scientist, where she's just the scientist. Or where a woman is Rouge and she's the best rapper and she's not the best female rapper, she's just like the best rapper.
Yep.
The gender becomes context, it stops being a limitation. Which leads to one last bigger question, and I'm not going to answer this one neatly for you because I don't think it should be answered neatly. What does equality look like once it becomes normal? Is it seamless, identical behavior, identical outcomes for everyone regardless of choice? Or is it something else entirely? Equal human dignity, equal opportunity, equal protection under the law, and the freedom to develop your own ability without some arbitrary barrier standing in the way of it? I'd sit with that question a little bit longer than you're comfortable sitting with it, if I were you. Before we close, however, I want to bring back my co-host one more time. If I could sit down with a woman from 100 years ago and tell her what women can do today, what would you tell her?
If I could sit with a woman.
Yes.
I think I'd start small. I'd tell her you can study. Yep, you can study anything. You can work, including mining engineering. You can work anywhere, in almost anything. You can own a house, not just live in it, you can vote, and it counts the same as everyone else's vote. And then I think I'd get quieter, because the next part is the part that really gets me. I'd tell her, you can leave if you need to and survive it. You can say no, you can say yes on your own terms, and you can choose anything you want. But I think the thing I'd really want her to hear, the thing that would probably break her a little, is that her daughter or her granddaughter gets to dream about things that she wasn't even allowed to imagine wanting. She was capable of imagining every bit of it. Nobody ever told her she's allowed to.
Wow, that's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope. How does it feel to be a woman of this generation? Do you have ambitions?
I mean, appreciate the opportunity. Being able to choose is just nice, because even when I don't like it, I can still change my mind and be like, I don't want it anymore. But being restricted is, however, the thing that we cannot have in the society.
That's why we need Sigamazwai. At least
We cannot have that, right? We cannot have, you can't do that. You shouldn't do that.
See, the woman who was told you cannot vote, the woman who was told that classroom isn't for you, the woman who was told that profession isn't for women like you, the woman who was told you need a man's name on this document before it means anything, the woman who had the exact same dreams a man might have had and simply lacked the institutional permission to chase them. Now, look at that woman standing today. She can walk into that university. She can walk into that boardroom. She can start that company. She can vote. She can own that property outright. She can lead. And she can say no cleanly without needing to justify it. She can say yes just as cleanly. And she can make those decisions that she finds best for her. She's standing on ground that other women cleared for her. Women whose names will very likely we will never learn. Women who never got to see how far the road they were building would eventually go. And maybe the responsibility of the woman standing on that ground today isn't only to enjoy it. Maybe it's to leave it wider, sturdier, and easier to walk on for the girl who's coming up right now behind her. The woman of yesterday fought for her way into the room. The woman of today is finally sitting inside it. But the woman of tomorrow decides to build inside that room. That part hasn't been written yet. Do you have any closing comments before we go?
Yeah. Happy Women's Month to all the women out there. And subscribe to the Daily Development Dose for conversations like this.
Sayonara!
I was supposed to respond. Now I did it.
Please get this woman out of the room. I knew she wasn't capable.
I hope the woman of tomorrow